Hey everybody, I'm Mishan Funk. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm joined by a really awesome guest. He is a graphic designer for Marvel Comics. Nicholas Russell, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and so you mentioned that
Yes.
you do create some of the title logos, which I thought is
Yes.
really awesome. Yeah, can you talk about each one and just kind of, like how, again, like how much freedom are you given, and like, if you have to do some research to see what's been done so you don't like repeat it, stuff like that. You just talk about the process.
Sure. So as Guardians, it was kind of playing off of that, you want to play off of, the whole feeling of their culture, and you want, kind of like that gold medal aesthetic, like, play off all of their armor and all their buildings and stuff. But also, I feel like I wanted to tie the cosmic aspect of it with the gradient in the background, so you go from greens to blues to purples to kind of provide, it's not just Asgardians on Asgard, like, Asgardians of the galaxy, they're in space, they're, beyond what they normally are doing. So it's kind of mixing those different aspects to, provide that feeling to whoever's picking up the comic and being like, all right, what is this about? And you want the logo to kind of give them at least a little bit of a lead into what it could be.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
The X-23 one, I think it was kind of, the X was based off a lot of like older X-Men stuff. Like they've had that X style before.
Yeah.
For X-23, at least for her character, she's not necessarily, an old, X-Men per se. So I think the text choice for the 23 was to provide that different aspect. Like she's rough around the edges, which is what the text provides. It's, kind of on point, but that's how it's like built up basically.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the X and the 23 were like different font styles.
Yeah. So, and, it's kind of like trying to provide that balance of what her world is, because she is, part of the X-Men, but at the same time, she is, rough around the edges, the blending back. She's still another Wolverine. She's going to create, a lot of massacre. So trying to incorporate all that into a logo, basically.
Yeah, cool.
Death of the Inhumans is actually not one that was used.
Oh, I was trying to think, like, I don't recall seeing that, but I was like, oh, that's awesome.
So this is actually one of those instances where they're like, we like it, but we actually want to go, a different route.
Okay.
Personally, I actually really enjoyed how it came out. So I was like, I'll just kind of file this away for myself.
Yeah. What, which one, do you know which one they ended up going with? Was it like it still said Death of the Inhumans, right?
Yes, I believe one of the artists for I want to say the artist for the main cover did like a mock-up that they ended up liking, so we went with that. But I think this one had gotten to the point where it was pretty close to being finalized, and I actually enjoyed how it came out. So I was like, even though it wasn't used, I still think for a piece for graphic design, it's worthy of putting in my portfolio.
Yeah. I thought it was great.
Thank you.
It's like, I can't imagine how many versions it took to get to this. But
there's you're like revisions.
Yeah, I'm sure. Cause it's like, you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's obvious. Cause you got the lightning bolt,
exactly.
And then I never would have thought to put text in there, but it's like, you look at it and you're like, yeah, duh, that seems like that's exactly what it should be. But then it's like, I'm sure when you're thinking about it, it like took a little bit to get to.
Yeah, there's, you do, yeah, because the lightning bolt was kind of the key feature of that. And it's kind of like, all right, how do we work around that lightning bolt? How do we incorporate text and not have it, be, off or not like legible so people don't read it properly? Because that can happen where you design something and the way you design it makes it illegible or it doesn't read properly.
Right. Yeah, you want it to read Death of the Inhumans, not like Inhumans, Death of, or whatever.
Yeah, because there's a lot more space on that upper right, but at the same time, you don't want to read it secondary because that's not how you're supposed to.
Exactly. Yeah, or you don't want it to be like in Death of the Mans, right? You don't want him to read it that way.
Exactly. So yeah, there's a lot of those things you have to consider.
Yeah. What about the multiple man down there?
Yeah, so that one had basically gotten like the general vibe, like, when you have multiple men, when like you first type it out, you do have that gap between the sizes of the two different words. Like it's
Yeah.
very long compared to very short. So you're like, how do I fill up that space, or how do I lay it out? So I had mostly like, figured out I wanted to duplicate one of them because,
Yeah.
multiple men, you have to.
Yeah. No,
So
it works. It works. Yeah.
I think I had gotten like a rough, work of this, and then I had sent it to some other people at Marvel, other designers that work with us, and they kind of were like, well, maybe you should do it, like this, and so we kind of worked on it so like I could finalize it so that I had a nice, transition with those ends. So, that was a nice aspect of it too, is where we can kind of work together and be like, I have it, but I need, a little bit more to get it to where it needs to be.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it built out. And, that was actually a relatively simple logo. It was just kind of how to, finesse it just right.
Right. Yeah. You look at it and you're like, that's easy, duh. Of course, that's what it was going to be. But then, to get to that, it's always like a process, and sometimes like a team effort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
If you want to look at my work, you can go to my website. It's nickrusselldesign.com. Has, a bunch of my stuff, if you want to, see what other stuff. I am going to try to, do more things on social media, but I'm trying to, plan a strategy for that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I look forward to seeing more of your work and, just more insight into how you do what you do. So, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And, I'd love to have you back again soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.